Welcome, grade 9. We are looking at equations today. So those are 5 examples of equations there. An equation is a mathematical statement which has one side, the left-hand side, equal to the other side, which is the right-hand side. So we are using the equal sign this time, and we are looking for the value of the variable that is used in the equation. Like in number 1, we want to know the value of x so that the statement on the left-hand side will be equal to the statement on the right-hand side. I'll quickly look at how we do those 5 examples. So let's start with 3x plus 5 is equal to 11. We are looking for a number. That number is x, and that number x multiplied by 3 plus 5 should give us 11. So you can actually figure out what the number is straight away. But I want us to follow some algebraic steps to work out the value of x. So we are going to look at the process of solving an equation. Right, so the first thing we need to do is to take note of the operations that are in use. We have 3 multiplied by x there. So 3x means 3 is multiplied by x. And the reverse operation for multiplication is division. Then it says plus 5. So there is another operation, the plus sign. We can reverse the addition sign by subtracting. So that is basically the method we are going to use. I will just take the short way and show you how we do this. So we start with what we call collecting like terms. So the first thing is collect like terms. In that equation, plus 5 and 11 are like terms. So we need to collect them to one side of the equation. So we are going to leave 3x on its own on the left-hand side. Then the plus 5 is going to move to the other side so that it is joined together with 11. So because it is a plus 5 on the left-hand side, we know that when it gets to the right-hand side, it will change to a negative 5. So we will end up with 3x is equal to 11 minus 5. Then you can simplify that. 11 minus 5 is equal to 6. Right, so we need now to find x. 3 multiplied by x is equal to 6. The reverse operation for multiplication is division. So this means in this case we need to divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is that number 3 there. And that will give us on the left-hand side x, and on the right-hand side 6 divided by 3 will give you 2. So the value of x in that equation should be 2. Right, look at this one here. So you're going to do the same thing, collect like terms. Notice that 8 and negative 4 are like terms. Minus 5x and 7x are also like terms. So we will collect like terms. You can decide where you want your terms to go. For instance, you can decide all terms in x will go to the left and all other terms like constant terms will go to the right. So in this equation, let's move all x terms to the left and move all the numbers to the right. So that means the 8 should move or should be taken to the right, and the 7x should be moved to the left. On the left-hand side, negative 5x will stay there. 7x should be moved to the left. It is positive right now, but if you move it to the left, it changes to a minus. So now that becomes negative 7x. Then put your equal sign. Then we are moving the constants to the right-hand side. The numbers, we are moving them to the right-hand side. And we have on the right-hand side a minus 4 already. You can keep it there. And then the 8 moves to the right. It is positive on the left-hand side. and it moves to the right hand side and becomes negative, so that is negative 8. We then simplify that. Minus 5x minus 7x is equal to minus 12x. And on the right hand side, minus 4 minus 8 will give you minus 12. And to get x, you divide by that number that is stuck in front of x there. So divide both sides by negative 12. So the minus 12 will cancel out, and so that will give you x on the left hand side. On the right hand side, that is negative 12 divided by negative 12, and the answer will be 1. So x is equal to 1 in this equation. Here's another example. This example requires you to distribute and remove the brackets. So if there are brackets, remove the brackets first. In this particular case, we are removing the brackets using distribution. So we are distributing the 4 into the bracket, and later on we will distribute the minus 5 into the other bracket, and then we will remove brackets that way. So let's multiply everything inside there by 4. So 4 multiplied by 2x will give us 8x, and 4 multiplied by 1 will give us 4. The next part, negative 5, is multiplied by x, that will give you minus 5x. And negative 5 is multiplied by negative 2, that will give you a positive 10. And all that is equal to 10. All right, then we collect our like terms. Decide where you want to move your x terms. I will leave the x terms on the left hand side. So I want to leave 8x on the left and the minus 5x also on the left hand side. Then on the right hand side, I want all my numbers to go there, all the numbers go there. Already we have a 10 there. The plus 4 on the left comes to the right and becomes a minus 4. The plus 10 on the left hand side goes to the right hand side and changes to a minus 10. Then simplify. 8x minus 5x is equal to 3x. Then 10 minus 4 minus 10 is equal to negative 4. To get x, divide by that number in front of x. So divide by 3. And this will give you, these will cancel out. So x is equal to negative 4 over 3. Leave it like that. You can write it as a mixed number if you want. Otherwise, you can just leave your answer as x is equal to negative 4 over 3. What about that example there? Once again, you need to remove those brackets. For this example, we can only remove these brackets by a method called FOIL. So we need to expand and remove the brackets. I hope you still remember your FOIL. So for the first one, the firsts will give us x squared. The outers will give you plus 2x. The inners will give us minus 3x. And the lasts will give us a minus 6, okay? Then we do the same thing on the right-hand side. The firsts give us x squared. The outers will give us a plus x. The inners give us a minus x. And the lasts will give us a minus 1. So that is what we have. Let us simplify. We can simplify first before we collect like terms. So for the left-hand side, these are our like terms. So simplify that. So we get x squared minus x minus 6 on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, these two here are our like terms, and that will give us x squared minus 1. Right. And now we need to collect like terms, but in this case you will realize we have three different terms. We have terms in x squared, we have terms in x, and constant terms. So there are three different types of terms. But if you look carefully, there is x squared on the left-hand side, and there is x squared on the right-hand side. So if we bring them together, they will actually minus each other and give you a 0, which is why we don't have to waste our time. You can actually just cross them out like that, which means when they come together to one side of the equal sign, they will give us 0 anyway. So what we end up with is negative x minus 6 is equal to minus 1. We can collect our like terms now. I'll leave the x term on the left-hand side, so it stays on the left-hand side as negative x. Then I move the minus 6 to the right-hand side. It's a minus 6 on the left-hand side, so it becomes a plus 6 on the right-hand side. I can just write it as a 6. So that is 6 minus 1. So our left-hand side is minus x, and the right-hand side simplifies to 5. A coefficient of x is negative 1. There is a 1 there. There's a 1 there. So dividing both sides by a minus 1, divide the left-hand side by a minus 1, and divide the right-hand side by a minus 1. That should give us x is equal to minus 5. All right, so that's your answer. Here is another example involving a fraction. We are solving for x, but there is a fraction this time. There are many things that you can do. I want to apply the method of reversing the operations. If there is a fraction in your equation, the first thing you may really want to do is to clear the fraction. You may want to clear the fraction first. It is not quite easy to work with fractions. So the first thing I would do is to clear the fractions. And so clearing the fractions just involves the reverse operations that are there. So we do not want a fraction, which means we don't want that denominator there. So the denominator in this case, you can call it the lowest common denominator. The lowest common denominator in this case is equal to 5. Because remember, 1 on its own means 1 over 1. So this is a fraction on the left-hand side, and that's a fraction on the right-hand side, and the lowest common denominator is 5. And so how do we clear fractions? We clear fractions by multiplying everything by the lowest common denominator. So multiply the fraction on the left-hand side by 5. So it's 5 multiplied by that fraction there, our 9 minus 2x all over 5. Right, we are multiplying the left-hand side by 5, and so we will also multiply the right-hand side by 5. What you do to the left, you must also do to the right. Okay, so we are looking for the LCD, and then we use the LCD to multiply every term. The left-hand side will then simplify. The minus 5s will cancel out, so you will remain with 9 minus 2x. The right-hand side is equal to 5. Then collect your like terms and leave the x terms on the left-hand side. So negative 2x on the left-hand side. Then the right-hand side becomes 5 minus 9, which gives us minus 4. Then divide by the minus 2 both sides. Divide by negative 2 both sides. So the minus 2 will cancel out. And so we will get x is equal to 2.